Hi, this is Joe Jorgenson, the founder of Accessibyte, and this is your assistive technology update.
Hello, and welcome to your assistive technology update, a weekly dose of information that keeps you up to date on the latest developments in the field of technology designed to assist individuals with disabilities and special needs. I'm your host, Josh Anderson, with the Data Project at Easter Seals Crossroads in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome to episode 772 of Assistive Technology Update. It is scheduled to be released on March 13th, 2026. On today's show, we are super excited to welcome back Joe Jorgenson from Accessibyte onto the show to tell us about all of the new and cool things going on there. We've got a story of a professor at Tufts University using AI to help individuals who are low vision and blind access their technology. And we're also joined by Ale Gonzalez from Bridging Apps with an app worth mentioning. Listeners, don't forget you can always reach out to us if you've got a question, a comment, or perhaps something you want to learn more about or someone we should have on the show. Give us a call at 317-721-7124 or send us an email at tech@eastersealscrossroads.org. If you're looking for new ways to check out our podcast, Assistive Technology Update is now on YouTube. You can search for Assistive Technology Update on YouTube or YouTube Music and check out our show there if that's how you like to consume your podcasts. Of course, you can also always find us on our website at eastersealstech.com or your favorite podcasting service. Also, don't forget, folks, you can check out all our other content, including blog posts, YouTube videos, tech tips, and many other pieces of content related to assistive technology and how these tools and devices might be able to help individuals in your life. As always, listeners, we thank you so much for taking time out of your day to give us a listen. Let's go ahead and get on with the show. If you happen to have questions about assistive technology, we have Assistive Technology Frequently Asked Questions, or ATFAQ. The show is hosted by Brian Norton and features yours truly along with Belva Smith as we all talk about assistive technology with questions that come in from email, phone calls, and other means. We also don't always know the answer, so it's very important that we have listeners that can help us out with some of those questions, because while we like to think every once in a while that we may know everything, we're proven wrong almost daily on that one. So if you're looking for more podcasts to listen to, or if you have questions about assistive technology, make sure to check out Assistive Technology Frequently Asked Questions wherever you get your podcasts. Listeners, for our story today, we have a story from the Tufts Daily from Tufts University. It's written by Jalen Daly, and it discusses Professor Jalen Herskovits and the work that she is doing there at Tufts University. The title of it is Tufts Professor Creating Assistive Technology Through AI. The story discusses how Professor Herskovits began her journey in computer science and is now a new assistant professor at the Computer Science Department of Tufts University. It says that while working towards her PhD, Herskovits studied how blind and visually impaired people utilized AI technology. And she really studied how folks who are low vision or blind were early adopters to AI, and not just early adopters, but also were using it in much more, deep and useful ways than others. You know, it kind of mentions here, instead of having it tell jokes and things like that, individuals in the BVI community were using it to complete tasks of high importance. So really to kind of make things more accessible, make the world more accessible around them. And in doing this study and uncovering these techniques that BVI users apply across multiple AI assistive programs, inspired her to develop some things called Program Ally and Ally extensions. It says here in the story that with Program Ally, users can program AI to quickly identify specific pieces of visual information in their environment, while Ally Extensions is another app that allows users to program their own shortcuts to bridge gaps between the accessibility software they rely on. The story goes on to say that what really sets Herskovits' discipline apart is the way she applies social science concepts and research in with the computer science parts. But the part I like the most is just kind of a quote here from Herskovits. You know, she says that people with disabilities are like these domain experts in their own lives and their own way of doing things. And so my work looks at how we can help them not take advantage of that knowledge. So really kind of working with the individuals who are actually going to use it and really just making things a little bit more useful for individuals with disabilities, which is probably the way we should all look at assistive technology and accessible technology and supports. There's a lot more in the story, of course. I will go ahead and put a link to it down in the show notes so that you can go check it out. But some pretty exciting new apps and new ways to help folks in the BVI community use assistive technology and artificial intelligence to really meet their needs. Listeners, next up on the show, we're very excited to welcome back Ale Gonzalez from Bridging Apps with an app worth mentioning.
This is Ale Gonzalez with Bridging Apps, and this is an app worth mentioning. This week's featured app is called Charity Miles. Charity Miles is a free app that turns your walking, running, or biking into money for charity by tracking your activity with your phone or a connected device. You choose from a list of supported charities like Stand Up to Cancer, ASPCA, and Habitat for Humanity, and every mile you complete earns funds they receive from corporate sponsors. The app makes it easy to stay motivated with updates on your progress and how much you've helped raise. A favorite feature is the pledge page, where you can have your friends sponsor you even if you are not racing. Charity Miles is especially great if your New Year's resolution is to get healthier, because you can reach your goals while giving back at the same time. It's simple to use and feels good knowing your steps make a difference. Overall, Charity Miles is a fun way to stay active and support causes you care about with every move you make. Charity Miles is currently available for both Android and iOS devices and is free to download. For more information on this app and others like it, visit www.bridgingapps.org.
Listeners, today we welcome back Joe Jorgenson from Accessibyte back to the show. Now, the last time Joe and I spoke was in June of 2020, and a lot has changed at Accessibyte over that time. And I hope you're all as excited to learn about it as I am. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Joe, for the folks who maybe haven't heard you on the show before, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I spent 10 years teaching assistive technology, orientation, mobility, and all sorts of things at Hines VA Blind Rehabilitation Center outside of Chicago. And during that time, I started developing some software tools, which is what I do now under the Accessibyte brand. Accessibyte has an online learning platform and a new offline productivity suite that I'd love to tell you all about.
And we can't wait to dig into all that. But I guess, Joe, start us off by telling us, where did the idea for Accessibyte come from?
Oh, that's a really good question that I honestly don't even know the answer at this point. Yeah, it's all kind of like a natural flow of things. It turned from like dabbling and having some ideas that I was just teasing out to all of a sudden becoming what it is today. But there is like one key point in the middle that is kind of a pivot point, at least in my own mind. I was presenting at the Illinois AER conference. I want to make a shout out to them. It's a great conference. And I was teaching the audience about this early build of Typio that I had created. This was like a super bare bones typing tutor that does not have everything that makes Typio great right now. And while I was telling everybody about it, some of the teachers there had said that they had used this with their students. And I was convinced they hadn't, because I was really the only one who had access to this application. And before you know it, they had convinced me they actually had used it. Well, come to find out, colleagues of mine had been sharing it. They've been sharing it with other people. Before you know it, it made it into the hands of teachers. So kind of pumped the brakes on the presentation and changed it into having them just tell me what they need, what they want, and the Accessibyte platform was born.
You kind of led me right in, because I guess let's start with Typio, just because that's kind of the one that got it all started. So what is Typio?
Typio is an accessible typing tutor that runs in the browser on any device. It's definitely the flagship application here at Accessibyte. There's a few different versions of Typio now that cover a whole lot of ground, but at its core, it's self-voiced. There's visual enhancements and just a lot of real easy, simplistic approaches to things that are usually pretty complicated, when learning how to type. So the primary version of Typio includes typing pets that students will raise. They earn coins as they go on their typing journey. They spend those coins to customize the way the pet sounds, the way it looks, buy different audio themes. There's different seasonal events, a ton of different typing practice incentives, games, all that good stuff. Then there's Typio Pro. It strips out the typing pet and replaces it with vocational lessons, things along the lines of sending emails, writing resume passages or literary passages. Then lastly, there's Braillio, which is a Braille version of Typio. It works with a Braille input, or you can use a standard QWERTY keyboard with FDS and JKL.
So, Joe, who all would benefit from using Typio, Typio Pro, Braillio, and these kind of tools?
A little bit of everybody. So Typio is primarily used in schools, while Typio Pro is primarily used in rehabilitation and higher ed agencies. Braillio sees a good split across both younger and older students. There's home user licenses, and then there's also school edition with a whole new teacher dashboard about ready to launch with a ton of new features for wider rollouts with larger numbers of students.
Nice. Very cool. What other kind of learning apps are available through Accessibyte?
So on the online platform, there's Quick Cards, which is a flashcard application. You can create decks with side A and side B on every card and flip your way through. Nice, easy, distraction-free visuals. Everything is voiced. There's also different educational tools like a dictionary, encyclopedia. We got a calculator, notepad, a reading tool, a to-do list. And lastly, there's Accessibyte Arcade, which is a collection of apps or of games. And Accessibyte Arcade is about to get a whole relaunch right around the corner. Probably this summer is when the first part of that rolls out. And it's going to go some very interesting places, I think.
Very, very cool. Well, I love whenever you give us a cliffhanger, something to really kind of look forward to. I guess I know it's going to get kind of an upgrade and everything, but what kind of accessible games are available on Arcade?
So in Arcade, currently there's games like Hangman, which is renamed to Hangry Man. Just add an extra letter in there, and all of a sudden the whole theme shifts to be something a little more
that is a little nicer for sure.
Yeah, and we're taking bites out of a donut instead of hanging somebody, just hanging somebody. There's also games like Samurai, where there's like a reaction time and you see how quickly you can hit the key, any key. And then we have games like Canteen, where you can go through a summer camp, do like run a shop every day. You choose if you want to buy an item or sell an item and try to make some money.
Very, very cool. And Joe, tell me about Accessibyte Studio.
Accessibyte Studio is our newest application. It rolled out this last fall of 2025, and it brings the Accessibyte ecosystem into the Windows desktop. So our online platform, you're learning skills. Well, now we need a place to use those skills. Accessibyte Studio covers a ton of different individual apps in one streamlined solution. So it can launch with your computer, it can shut your computer down, you can run it on the side while you're using other applications. It covers things like podcasts, email, YouTube, documents, a whole bunch of different sub apps within Studio. It's self-voicing, nice, clean, easy visuals. It also works great with outside AT like screen readers. And the users that have been jumping on with Studio already have had like so many good ideas and so many use cases that we never even imagined. And it's, growing pretty rapidly.
Nice. That's really cool. And in kind of looking at the studio a little bit, I saw some information about user guides. Can you tell us about those?
Oh, yeah. So this goes back to my days as an AT instructor, where I was always making guides on how to do everything. Nice, easy, clear, step 1, step 2, step 3. So in Studio, there's a whole bunch of user guides, help files, tips and tricks, FAQs for every one of the included applications. And I was just sharing this with some instructors last week, and they were really excited about that feature in particular because it bridged the gap between, what they may be doing with a client and then what the client may be doing at home. Save everybody a little bit of work and make the notes for them.
Nice. And this is always kind of hard on a podcast, I realize. But can you kind of tell me a little bit, just maybe about, the customizable experience of using Studio? What are the things I can change? How can I make it? And kind of, I guess, just describe what the user interface or user experience might be like.
So within Studio, everything's presented in a nice, easy list. So you just use your up and down keys. You can use tab. If you're navigating with a screen reader, you can move by button to go between all the different options. Everything that you can interact with is always going to be on the screen. There's not a lot of guessing, though there are keystrokes that mirror other applications that you may graduate into should you go beyond using Studio. As you go through these lists, everything is voiced, the visuals follow along. You just make easy selections. Whenever there's an option ahead of you, it's going to present you with like a yes, save this document, or no, don't save this document. So again, it's just really streamlining and simplifying the process of using these apps. As far as customization, you can change the voicing, all those options. You can change the visuals as far as the text style, the themes. Then you can take it a step further. There's simplified visual options that are going to strip out a lot of the like blank space between buttons or some background textures, maybe make things a little more high contrast on the screen. Then we have different options within each app. You can do different things. So again, really simplify the experience or perhaps expand it if that's the direction you want to go.
Nice, very, very cool. And we kind of you kind of brought this up a little bit, but what all kind of apps and programs does it work with?
Accessibyte Studio runs on Windows. We're going to get it going there, really take our time and get through the first, year or two, and then begin the porting process to other platforms. It's been developed in a way that is super nimble and ready to be taken to these other platforms when the timing is right.
Very, very cool. And then as we kind of talk about, getting on everything in the Windows environment, you brought this up a little bit, but kind of what are, I guess, all the things I can do with it? Well, I guess not all. We're not that long of a podcast. We might get into too many darn things. But I mean, if we talk about, accessing the internet or maybe kind of reading books, things like that, what are all the things I can do using Accessibyte Studio?
Tell you what, I'm going to fire it up real quick here.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. So I'm just going to talk us through the list of the main menu options real quick. And, I'm just going to rattle right through. We have weather, news, to-do, notes, internet, email, YouTube, podcasts, radio, audio recording, calculator, dictionary, Wikipedia, manuals, books, documents, scanning, contacts, and files, plus a whole lot more that's being worked on coming over the next couple of months and years.
Awesome. Very cool. Now dig into each one. No, I'm just kidding. Don't really. We really only have so long. So we can't get into those, but really great. So most of the things that I'm going to want to do on my computer, I can easily do, in a much easier to use, more accessible interface. I think that's absolutely awesome, and kind of keep down the distractions and really be very inclusive for individuals with a lot of different kinds of needs.
Oh, for sure. And that's one of the areas where we've seen growth that wasn't quite expected was, my background is in blindness, visual impairment, but Accessibyte Studio's simplicity and streamlined nature lends itself to a whole lot of things. So beyond screen reading, we also have like switch controls, anyone who needs just simplified access. What's really cool about Studio is it kind of breaks that cycle of needing to be familiar with tech to learn AT and needing to be familiar with AT to learn tech. So you can start working in Studio, you navigate with just up, down, enter, and get a ton of different productivity done. Once you're familiar in that environment, let's say you start to learn different outside assistive technologies, you can use them in Studio. So then you get familiar with the AT in an environment you already know. And maybe eventually you start jumping outside of Studio and working in the Windows desktop and going through all the different Microsoft apps. But maybe you come back to Studio for something like email or the book reader. So it's a super flexible option.
Very, very cool. And Joe, I guess tell me a story or two about a user of one of these solutions from Accessibyte. Maybe if you've got a few for, or one, maybe one for Typeo and one for someone using Studio, maybe that surprised you, or maybe that just sticks with you.
Oh wow. I'm going to share a couple about Typeo and then one about Studio.
Perfect.
So with all of this, I'm behind the computer now. I'm not working directly with clients at this point. So I really rely on feedback from users, from instructors, from teachers. There was this week where two different teachers reached out within that same week, and their younger student had run into a little bit of friction on the Typeo score screen. On the Typeo score screen, you're going to receive your errors, your accuracy, your words per minute, and some coaching. Well, hearing the errors, hearing the accuracy was bringing these kids down, and that wasn't going to stand. So, what we did is we introduced the simplified scoring option. And what that does is when you get to the score screen, the teacher still gets all that data sent to their dashboard, but all the student gets is congrats, you completed the lesson and a done button. So that simplification helped keep those students motivated and on board, to get through learning how to type. So another really cool thing with Typeo is this isn't like a specific story so much, but it's a very specific use case is across the board interfacing with teachers, the users who were relying on the audio, so these are users who are new to the keyboard, probably new to AT as well. They're taking in that audio a little slower than some were visually scanning it. Across the board, their words per minute scores were coming in a little slower simply because of the time it took for the speech to engage and complete. So we introduced the smart words per minute feature. You can toggle it on or off in the settings. And what that does is it pauses the words per minute timer while the text to speech is reading off that initial typing prompt. And what that did is once it was introduced, all of a sudden, all those scores that were kind of lower got caught right up with all the other students in the classroom. It really evened the playing field when it comes to these typing scores.
Nice, nice. And you said you might have one about Studio as well?
Yeah, so with Accessibyte Studio, I had the opportunity of sharing it with some of my colleagues that I used to work alongside just recently. And what was really exciting there was kind of coming back. I hadn't seen some of them in some years. And, this is the tool that I really wanted to exist when I was instructing, something that bridged the gap when I'm going room to room, working with people who need a simple solution, someone who's using an advanced solution, and really just bringing in all of what we did as a team and the different approach that I learned with these colleagues, bringing it all into like one application. So when I was able to present it with them, it was just like a really cool, like full circle moment to go over this application that, I had developed, but it was built out of my time and my experience with these same individuals.
Awesome. And then finally, Joe, I did want to ask, I found when looking through that you also offer a low vision readability tool. Can you tell me what this is and just kind of how it's beneficial?
Yeah, so the low vision readability tool is another really cool thing that came out of discussions with teachers. So on Facebook, it popped up on my feed that somebody had made a post asking about some sort of digital reading assessment options. And it reminded me that I had a project that I had started and not completed. So I asked in that comments about, what is it that you guys need? What do you want here? And ideas started coming together. Other teachers started weighing in, and I shared what I had. They gave me some feedback. We had a few iterations on that. And before you know it, the readability tool existed. It runs in the browser on any device. The readability tool, it's a free assessment tool on our website. There's options for reading along at different font sizes, font styles, different reading passages that are grouped by grade level. So you can go ahead and hit a timer, have a student or a client read through, and then see how quickly they're able to read that. You can then update the font size, update the style, and see how they perform. If they perform better, then there's different options for screens that'll have the same text style in different sizes, or we'll have the same text size in different styles. So we can really hone in on what somebody can read best. Then there's different options like a reading chart. And what's really cool here is we're bringing clinical tools into a digital space. And these are the real devices a user might be working on. So whether it's their iPad, their phone, their computer, their Chromebook, we can load it up. And let's say we load Arial in 14-point font versus 32-point font versus 56. We can hone in and get some really good data and perform initial assessments with these digital tools using digital measurements.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great tool. Joe, if our listeners want to find out more about Accessibyte and all the great tools we've talked about, what's a good way for them to do that?
The best place to go is the Accessibyte website, and that is spelled ACCESSIBYTE. So it's like accessible, but computer byte. Or Facebook, Instagram, all those good places. We have a mailing list on our website that we don't send things out too often, but we do keep people up to date on new features.
Awesome. We'll put all that information down in the show notes so listeners can easily find that and check out more things for themselves. Joe, thank you so much for coming on, for telling us about the updates to Accessibyte and all the amazing things that you all do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so lucky to be able to share all this information today, and I hope everybody just finds it useful.
Do you have a question about assistive technology? Do you have a suggestion for someone we should interview on an assistive technology update? If so, call our listener line at 317-721-7124, send us an email at tech@eastersealscrossroads.org, or shoot us a note on Twitter @InDataProject. Our captions and transcripts for the show are sponsored by the Indiana Telephone Relay Access Corporation, or INTRAC. You can find out more about INTRAC at relayindiana.com. A special thanks to Nicole Prieto for scheduling our amazing guests and making a mess of my schedule. Today's show was produced, edited, hosted, and fraud over by yours truly. The opinions expressed by our guests are their own and may or may not reflect those of the InData Project, Easter Seals Crossroads, our supporting partners, or this host. This was your Assistive Technology Update. I'm Josh Anderson with the InData Project at Easter Seals Crossroads in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.